Hi humans, how has your day been going? This week I would like to take a look at about 20 different things that I have bought during my film existence to help me make better videos, and talk about why they were either a good investment that helped me to create better videos or a waste of money. At the end of this video I'll also talk a little bit about some tips to make good investments, some ways to know if you're about to waste money on something, as I have done a lot in the past. So let's go ahead and start with the good investments. First of which is this light that I'm using right now. This is a generic umbrella light. I have two of them. I've had these lights for at least a year now, and I've used them on almost every single video that I've made. Another thing that I've used on just about every video since I bought it, you might be starting to see a trend here, is the Rode Video Micro, which I'm using right now to record audio for this video. I got it as a result of my Rode Video Mic breaking. I know a few fellow YouTubers who also use this microphone and also like it. I completely adore this microphone, not only because it looks like a cute little hamster, but because it's a great piece of audio gear. It's small, it's compact, it's lightweight, it's easy to use, and doesn't slow you down when you're filming because it uses phantom power, so you're never going to forget to turn it on. With the Rode Video Mic and Video Micro, you have to turn them on whenever you're about to film, which can obviously lead to not having the microphone on for certain sequences, which, you know, if you ever watched one of Casey Neistat's videos, happens about every day. Because it is so lightweight and doesn't require you to turn it on or put batteries in, replace the batteries when you're about to film, this is basically a thought-free, carefree microphone, and you can completely concentrate on what you're filming. Doesn't get in the way at all. Next up is this lens. This is a Nikon 50mm f1.8 lens. I got it because I wanted to shoot in low light and shoot some shots with shallow depth of field. This achieved both of those things. It's great for both of those situations, low light and having that nice shallow depth of field blurry background. And I have used this on enough projects, and it has contributed enough to those projects that I would say it's worth the $100 or so that I paid for it. Next up is this PC that's back behind me. I bought it because my laptop that I had been using to edit and make designs broke because I dropped it. This happens far too often. I really need to improve my motor skills. And I know when people see a light up, color changing, crazy desktop PC, they instantly assume that it's a complete waste of money, because they usually are. But this was cheaper than any laptop that I could buy and had far better specs, far better features than any other computers in its price range. Also, I have used this on every single project I'm editing or designing just about every day. Next up is a piece of software, actually. HitFilm 2 Express, my first editing software, excluding, I think, iMovie that I'd used before that. When I upgraded to HitFilm 2 Express, I learned a ton about visual effects and editing, and as is the trend with these good investments, I used it all the time. I used it for every single project, and using that program really helped to get me into editing creatively and doing effects creatively. Now, something I'm sure you will all recognize, this tripod, this little bendy tripod. As you can see, I have used it a lot, and while I don't really use it anymore because it's kind of died, it won't really support a camera much anymore if it's standing up, and the legs are really loose. I absolutely got this thing's value out of it during the time that I used it. And this was another thing that helped me to focus less on superficial aspects of creating videos. Before, I had been using a big fluid head tripod to film everything, and when I got this, I was able to get a bunch of different versatile shots with it, and it helped me to be creative because it enabled me to get a lot of different unique angles. Having a tool like this that's small and lightweight really enables you and encourages you to just run around and film stuff and be as creative as you can. If you've ever seen old Film Riot videos or just about any narrative filmmaking tutorials, I'm sure you recognize the legend itself, the can light. I bought this probably 4 years ago. I don't even know. I bought 2 of them. There's another one that I'm using right now to light that wall in the background. I've used these on so many projects that even at such a steep price as $9.99, you know, if you add that together, that's like $19.98 for both of them. Despite the crazy price, I have used these enough to make it worth it. Now this is an LCD viewfinder. Basically, it's supposed to have a little magnet that you put on your screen that it attaches to, but since when I got this, was using a camera with a screen that flipped out, I could just put it on there, and then that enables you to, when you're filming outside, look into here and you can see your screen perfectly. It is unbelievably annoying to miss a shot or have a badly exposed shot because you were squinting to see your screen in the sunlight. And this completely solves that problem. You can see your screen perfectly outside. And this was not even very expensive. So 100% worth it, even though I don't use it anymore. Now for 2 of the best investments that you can ever make when you're making videos or films. That would be batteries and SD cards, because there is never a time that you don't need these. Currently I have 2 batteries for each camera. I'll probably be buying some more this summer, and a ton of SD cards. You never know when you might run out of storage or power. Alright, now let's move on to the fun, kind of unfortunate part, the bad investments. Starting with one thing that, to me, is the epitome of terrible filmmaking investments. That would, of course, be the follow focus. This is only useful if you have 2 people operating your camera at the same time and really need it. I bought this because I thought that it would make my rack focus shots smoother. It doesn't really do that. This is one of those things that a lot of beginning filmmakers buy because they see professionals using it and they think, oh, that looks cool, that looks professional, I'ma buy one, and then I'll look professional. That was why I got it. Speaking of things that you buy so that you can look professional, this rig, this is known as the Spider Steady. While I'm sure this is useful to some people for stabilizing their shots, using it as a bunch of different types of camera rigs, I don't use this a lot. And this is just something else that I bought for the wrong reasons. I didn't buy it hoping that it would solve a certain problem. There was no problem that this solved. It just made my camera look a little cooler. And I would say that this actually hurt me creatively because you have to take time to set these things up. It takes longer to get a shot. You're basically wasting time worrying about superficial details, and by carrying around a giant camera rig and having to set up all this stuff before you film, you're wasting time, and you could even miss some shots. Another thing that you should never buy: matte boxes. A matte box has 2 purposes. It can reduce lens flares or hold filters in front of your lens. To use a matte box, or a follow focus for that matter, you need to buy this little rail system, which allows you to mount this onto the front of your camera. Ultimately, if your intention with a matte box is to reduce lens flares, you should just buy a lens hood, in my opinion. And if your intention is to hold filters in front of your lens, I would recommend just buying filters that screw onto the front of your lens. Next, I'd like to talk about the tripod that I'm filming on right now. Now, you wouldn't think by my standards for investments that it would be a bad investment, because I use it on just about every project. But there's a feature of it that makes up a lot of the price of it that I don't use, and that is the fluid head. This tripod has a fluid head on it, meaning that it has very smooth pans and tilts. However, most of the shots in my videos are either static shots, just like this, where the camera's on a tripod, not moving, or they are handheld shots, where I'm holding the camera. So that fluid head feature is not really useful. I could have bought a much less expensive tripod just if it didn't have that feature. Of course, the drone. Do I love drone shots? Yes. Do drone shots add a lot to my videos? Yes. Does this slow me down when I'm filming with it? Yes. Is this a very limiting tool? Yes. Do I use this on a lot of projects? No, I only have a small handful of drone shots and videos with drone shots in them. So while it adds a lot, I really don't use this that often. Drones are also like smartphones. They're not very future-proof. The companies that make these appear to be constantly innovating and making a better version that you need to upgrade to or you're behind. For example, this drone, the DJI Phantom 3 Standard, is considered obsolete now, because the DJI Mavic has been released. Next is this little clamp type camera mount. You put your camera up here and you can clamp it onto like beams, I guess. Yeah, sure, beams. I bought this for one shot in one video. One shot, just one. And I have not used it since then. It would have been much wiser to save the money that I spent on this, and instead of getting that shot by spending money on it, being a little bit creative and finding a different, unique way to get that shot. And I could have instead invested the money that I spent on this in something like a battery that I would still be using today. The more you use something, the more likely it is to be a good investment in the long term. Next is this external audio recorder, the Zoom H1. The idea with this is that you get better audio by, instead of plugging your microphone directly into your camera, you either plug your microphone into this and this into your camera, or you just record using this and your microphone. In my experience, the audio that I get from using this instead of my camera has not been that much better. I hardly notice a difference. I used this on a small handful of projects and eventually just stopped using it because it wasn't contributing that much, and I was wasting time setting it up and trying to use this. So in addition to not adding a lot to my projects, it actually slowed me down when I was making them. One thing that I hate to say was a bad investment is this Atmosphere Aerosol. It's basically fog in a can. See? I don't use this that often, and I don't think that it contributes that much to a shot, but I'm giving it a pass because it's not that expensive and it's really fun to play around with. Finally, the only piece of lighting gear that I consider a bad investment is this little reflector kit. This has a couple of different reflectors as well as a diffuser and a bounce. These are mainly intended to be used when you're filming outside, but I have not used them yet. Honestly, I don't consider the time that you spend setting these up and the fact that you need an extra person to hold it, I don't consider that worth the benefit that it makes your lighting a little bit better. This camera, the Nikon D5100. I bought this in a rush after my Nikon D3100, my first DSLR, broke. I don't know if I've ever shown you this, but I made that broken camera into a little art project, a little like camera terrarium type thing, and that is now chilling above my desk. But when it broke, I dropped it. Of course I dropped it. I dropped everything and break everything. I replaced it with this, the Nikon D5100, which is basically a slightly better version of the D3100. And this camera still did not have manual video settings, which was something that I should have known that I would inevitably need at some point in the future. So I ended up buying another camera that had manual settings, and I don't use this one anymore. Before you buy something, you should really step back and think about exactly what it will add to your work and what your work is lacking because you don't have that. With the Nikon D7000, it was manual settings. With the LCD Viewfinder, it was the ability to see my camera screen in daylight. If you know exactly what you're going to do with a product before you buy it, you'll really be able to think about if it's worth it or not. Also, obviously, the more you use something, the more likely it is to be a beneficial investment. If you only use something on one project, chances are it wasn't worth it. Use it on 100 projects, it probably is. So before you buy something, think about what it will add to your projects and how many projects you'll be using it on. Finally, if you have made some good investments, some bad investments. Feel free to share those in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your stories about this. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, keep creating things, and I will see you in my next video. Achoo!